double logos. What do they mean? They mean Roger and Jenny, actually. That's exactly what they mean.
They're lurking.
Todd, are you ready to do this?
I have prepared myself with tinctures and salves and meditation.
Good. All right, here we go.
Man, it smells in here.
When I first tried the Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt and his insightful commentary, it was so good I told 2 friends about it. And they told 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. And believe me, it's so easy to donate to DTNS. Head over to patreon.com/ACEDTECT. Then tell your friends about it, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, April 6th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, founder of Alpha Geek Radio, the place where you can listen to us stream live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Mr. Todd Whitehead back on the show. How's it going, Todd?
Greetings and salutations, all is well. How is your world?
I am excited to talk about PC sticks with you.
Is that what you eat PCs with? You pick it up with sticks and no?
Yeah, it's that new game where you just throw a bunch of HDMI sticks on the ground, and then you try to remove one without disturbing the other ones. No, this is an interesting new trend that I think has been a long time in the coming, but has finally reached maturity. We'll talk about why. Let's start off, though, with some headlines. Reuters reports Twitter complied with Turkey's request to remove photographs of a hostage taken by left-wing militants in Istanbul last week, causing a block on the site to be lifted. YouTube is among several sites that remain blocked in the country. An Istanbul, Turkey judge ordered access blocked to social media sites showing photographs of the slain prosecutor Mehmet Selim Kiraz. Presidential spokesman said a prosecutor had demanded the block because of concerns that the images could be used to spread terrorist propaganda. Twitter says Turkey filed more than 5 times as many content removal requests as any other country in the second half of 2014. So I suppose that should not be a surprise that they filed this one.
Information control in the 21st century, challenging to say the least.
Yeah, there is a definite gradient of countries and their restrictions on media expression on the internet. You know, you have China, certainly very controlling. You have Turkey, which really does allow things to happen, but then puts a block up if they don't like something. And there's a lot of debate over whether that is a proper use of governmental power or not, because they could just wait for a removal process. But it's definitely different than the safe harbor situation you have in a lot of Western countries.
Yeah. CNET reports an LG Display blog post stated Apple, quote, announced that they will release the iMac 8K with a super high-resolution display later this year, end quote. So far, Apple has made no claim to be releasing an 8K iMac. The highest resolution iMac Apple sells currently is the iMac with Retina 5K display featuring a 27-inch screen with 5120 by 2880 pixel resolution.
So put aside for the moment that there is nothing that you can take advantage of with an 8K screen easily.
Or a 5K screen.
Or probably not much with a 5K screen either. But I'm sure Apple was very surprised to hear LG Display say that they had announced that they were going to do this. And just to be clear, for those of you not quite paying attention, maybe you just got caught off in traffic or something, this is not a blog reporting a rumor. This is LG Display's official corporate blog saying Apple announced this. So everyone's jumping into the conclusion that LG Display knows something and they accidentally slipped it into a blog post.
It certainly carries more weight than, you know, Ed's blog on Macs. But
right, this isn't weird. Sources familiar with the matter, or Ed's familiar with the matter. eWeek notes Apple has announced a 3:01 a.m. Eastern Time as the moment when online pre-orders for the Apple Watch will begin in the U.S. This is an actual Apple announcement direct from Apple. You can configure the details like which band and model you want ahead of time to speed up ordering and just do a little heart to save those preferences. Meanwhile, Ars Technica passes along that the Apple Watch won't come to Switzerland due to an existing trademark belonging to Leonard Timepieces, and that trademark expires on December 5th of this year. Before then, the Swiss will have to travel across the border if they want to get an Apple Watch. Australia, Canada, China, France, Germany, Hong Kong, Japan, the UK, and the US will all begin selling Apple Watches on April 24th.
Yay, I can hardly wait. Oh, wait. It's the other one, actually. Yeah, I'm interesting. 3:01 a.m. In the day the
So
universe
midnight
changed.
Pacific. Yeah.
I'm very curious to see if I am as wrong about this as I was wrong about the iPad, because I originally did not see where the iPad was going to fit. I thought it was this, wow, you're going off of a cliff here, Apple, and then, duh, yeah, I was proven slightly wrong about that. So perhaps I will be as wrong about this, because I can't see people re-adopting wearing a device on their wrist unless there's a killer app, and no one has shown me that killer app yet. So we'll see.
Yeah. We have an LG smartwatch in the house. Can't say it gets much use. I am probably going to spring for one of these Apple Watches simply to see if the most hyped of all smartwatches yet, actually lives up to its hype.
We shall see. You can be our canary in a coal mine.
Thank you.
You go forth.
I will tweet. Literally.
Right from the wrist. The Verge has the lowdown on all of the new Roku models. Roku, the boxes that you can use to watch this very show on your television with. Available in the U.S. today. The new Roku 3, so they haven't changed the numbers, they just changed what the Roku 3 is, comes with a remote that has a dedicated voice search button that searches across multiple services. Roku also released the Roku Feed, which tells you when movies you select are beginning to stream online. Sexy. The Roku 3 costs $99. The Roku 2 is being upgraded to have the same hardware and performance as the 3, but lacking the voice remote, and costs $69. The Roku smartphone app will have the voice search capability as of today's update.
So yeah, and I think if you have an older Roku 3, you'll get the Feed update and likely the voice search through the app, but obviously it's the remote that's the new hardware there. I've been putting up buying a Roku for a while. I have the last generation, which has X's and stuff in its name. The XD, I think, is the one I have. Yep. So I went ahead and sprung for a Roku 3 with the voice search, because that is, Brian Brushwood is right about this, one of the compelling features about the Fire TV is how well the voice search works, the limitation being that it primarily searches Amazon content, although they've been trying to add other apps to that service, whereas the Roku right out of the gate is going to search across lots of apps, including Netflix. So if you've used Roku's cross-app search, you know that it works fairly well. And this RSS feed thing is really interesting in tracking things across multiple services.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of websites that will tell you when things are streaming, but if you could just magically happen and pop an alert that says, hey, Big Trouble in Little China has come back to Hulu or whatever.
Good point. Actually, they will not pop you an alert. That seems like an awkward way to phrase it the way I said it. You said it perfectly fine. But you won't get an alert. You have to look at the feed and check in on it to see what's available, which I think is an interesting choice. They don't want to get in your way, I guess. They want to train you to look to see. And they're only doing it with movies that are in theaters to start with. The idea being, hey, I'm not going to be able to get to see it in the theater, but I want to know when it comes to Amazon/Netflix/Hulu. But if it works, my guess is they will probably bring it to television shows as well.
Yeah, I would hope so. It'd be a heck of a useful thing to have.
Yeah. The Next Web passes along a Times of India report that clothing retail Myntra, or Myntra, it's M-Y-N-T-R-A, will shut down its website May 1st and only sell its products through mobile apps. Interesting move. 80% of Myntra's traffic and 70% of its sales are on mobile. Myntra was acquired by Flipkart last spring. Its Android app launched in May and iOS app in September. I think this is the nadir of app culture to me. My way of thinking has always been that the web is a better way to serve everyone because it's interoperable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But there are certain advantages to the app ecosystem, and we always tend to swing like a pendulum between walled gardens and open gardens. I hope this means we are at the end of the swing when you start to see a very successful retailer like this just decide to kill their website.
Well, consider also, we live in the West. In Asia and Africa, the way technology and communications developed was vastly different. They went straight to cellular and mobile infrastructure. So mobile is huge there to a degree that dwarfs even our reliance on it, because it's all they've ever had. People went straight from no telephone to mobile phone with data capability. So this may be a reaction to that local customer base in India more likely to have a smart device than to have a computer or a tablet capable of going to a website.
Yeah, the next one
This might
points
not
out
be not for us.
shopper penetration is set to increase from 9% to 36% in India, primarily led by mobile users. That's according to a Morgan Stanley report. So
It's
that's a really
different
good
world
point.
over there. TechCrunch reports Hulu is launching a GIF search engine powered by Tumblr called The Perfect GIF, which lets you search for TV-related GIFs. GIFs. The GIFs will be branded with a Hulu hashtag. The site features 1,400 GIFs from current and classic shows. Why was this necessary? Enlighten me, Tom.
I don't know. Also, ugh, putting a branded hashtag. I don't care if you call it GIF or GIF. We should all agree that that's annoying. On the other hand, people really love searching for these days, right?
I guess.
So I think Hulu certainly isn't making a wrong move if it gets some people in the door and watching more Hulu stuff. And they've got it. Everybody loves a good animated GIF from a TV show.
Yeah.
Those are incredibly popular.
I think this just demonstrates how middle-aged I am becoming. Because I bet you somebody 10 or 15 years younger than me looks at this and says, "Oh, awesome! When can I have it?"
Yeah.
And can immediately see usefulness that I'm just not seeing.
Lots of our stories come from folks in the audience submitting at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Get in there and join them if you haven't already. There's more than 4,000 people in there having a great time, submitting stories, voting on each other's stories, helping us know what stuff is interesting to that segment of the audience. starfuryzeta sent us the Recode report that Sling TV was not quite ready for the madness that was March. Sling TV tweeted an apology to users who saw errors due to extreme signups and streaming during the college basketball semifinals in the U.S., featuring Duke versus Michigan State and especially Wisconsin versus Kentucky. That was incredibly popular. According to Sling CEO Roger Lynch, the issues only affected 1,000 users. Pro tip, Game of Thrones premieres next Sunday. And with HBO allegedly coming to Sling, expect more extreme signups, Sling.
Extreme signups, is that the new sport we should see on
It
on
is amongst
YouTube?
these over-the-top video providers. They should have an Olympics of that.
I get, there are worse problems to have, as a news service than people wanting your stuff that badly. Just ask Blizzard Entertainment around the time they launched World of Warcraft. It turned out fairly well for them, so hopefully they'll be able to increase capacity. But moving on to our next story, they better not get too many signups at Sling, because the Corley sent us the story on Sling TV's subscriber cap from PC Magazine. It turns out, according to Ad Age, that Dish Network has put a limit of 2 million subscribers on its Sling TV service. As of last month, Sling TV has about 100,000 subscribers. Discovery CEO David Zaslaw said Sling TV is bound by agreements made with content creators, which means Sling TV can't push past its subscriber limit, or content companies might start pulling their media from the service. I knew the other shoe was going to fall at some point.
This was actually known when they launched it. I believe it was Peter Kafka at Recode and possibly others reported that there was some sort of limit. The only real news here is that Ad Age has put a number on it at 1.9 million or close to 2 million. And at 100,000 subscribers now, they got a lot of room to grow. And as they get close to those 2 million, there's going to be renegotiations and conversations. They're not just going to pull the plug. Some networks might, if the negotiations don't go well. This is just a way to get people comfortable in letting Sling have the ability to sign folks up without fear of cannibalizing existing arrangements, because Sling has successfully been able to argue, as has apparently Sony, we're going to try to sign up those 10 million people who don't subscribe to cable, and this is the hedge they had to throw in the contract to get it. It's going to take them a long time to get to 2 million, and by then the conversation will have changed, is my guess.
2 million is still a hell of a proof of concept.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I would imagine there's somebody at Sling who looks at this and says, yeah, but if we actually get 2 million subscribers, then suddenly we're having a different conversation with all of these networks than we are when it was 0 subscribers. So
bring it on.
Sewell, too, posted the Ars Technica article that scientists from Carnegie Mellon and NC State published a letter describing an unpowered exoskeleton they've developed that uses a clutch and spring to fulfill one function of the calf muscles and Achilles tendons. Now, the idea here is to take your natural walking motion and reduce the energy it takes to walk. The 7.3% increase in efficiency could prove a big help to the elderly and mobility impaired. And you don't have to plug it in. There's no battery. There's no nothing. It's just using your natural motion and enhancing it.
Physics. This is, I love tech like this. And they go out of the way of saying, there's nothing new here. This could have been invented 150 years ago. All the concepts and the technology existed. We just thought to put it together today this way. And it's just using simple physical properties to put a little spring in your step, basically.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, there's a little spring on it.
Little side note here, too. Nature Magazine has launched a new program where they will allow people to view their articles for free in certain instances. And so when I clicked on the Ars Technica article link at the bottom to the Nature article, I was able to go to the full article instead of just the abstract. So pretty cool.
Neat stuff. AudioIllusion pointed out the excerpt from John Oliver's Last Week Tonight, where Oliver interviews Edward Snowden in Russia. Oliver pressed Snowden on the responsibility in handing over so much information, saying, "You have to own that. You're giving documents with information you know could be harmful." Snowden said, "In journalism, we have to accept that some mistakes will be made." Oliver also had Snowden explain which government programs could result in the government seeing private pictures of your private parts. Rhymes with picnics.
Yes, it's a really good interview. It's about 18 minutes long. A big chunk of the beginning is made up of John Oliver nervously waiting for Snowden to show up, and he's late. So if you really don't want the comedic aspect, you can skip past that into the middle. But Oliver seriously comes at Snowden and says, hey, you didn't read every single thing in here. How could you know what you were handing over? Snowden says, well, I handed it over to people I felt were responsible enough. He's like, but mistakes have been made. And Oliver points out some actual instances where certain things weren't properly blacked out and some intel was leaked that could be damaging, may have been damaging. And Snowden, he responds to that with the quote that Todd just read. It's a fascinating interview. And then at the end, Oliver starts bringing up those pictures as an example of what makes people actually care about the revelations. And some people feel like he may have actually changed the conversation about security by doing that.
Yeah, it was, it's this weird place where some of the best journalism these days is being done by comedians. Because interspersed with the funny ha-ha was real, honest questions that need answering. And Snowden has said repeatedly, I will happily return to the United States if I am granted a fair trial. And that's possibly the area in a fair trial where he may find himself in trouble. Because there's no doubt that he broke laws.
Yeah.
He absolutely did break laws. And it's a matter of, was it justified from a whistleblower standpoint that to reveal these greater transgressions, I had to commit lesser transgressions and not really.
But that doesn't get you out of jail.
No.
Henry David Thoreau's civil disobedience didn't keep him out of jail because he had the right principle. He was still in jail. So that's a good point. I think there's a certain amount of leeway that someone like John Oliver has to be able to ask a question in an almost unfairly harsh way that a more standard journalist in a television interview wouldn't do, because it would feel like they were being too harsh. And that's what partly was interesting to see Oliver do here. But there was also him showing that the most charming part of it was him showing clips of people who couldn't identify Edward Snowden. And you could see there were people in these clips saying, isn't he the guy who owns WikiLeaks? And you see Snowden laugh and like, oh, I own WikiLeaks now. That's, and I have never seen that much humanity in any kind of interview with Snowden before, because you saw his guard drop for a second when he was laughing at John Oliver's antics the way we all do.
Yeah, it definitely humanized him more than the telepresence robot I saw him coming through on the TED stage last year. That's kind of creepy as hell.
And that is a look at the headlines. All right, nod to Aractor, who submitted this story on our subreddit. Intel's Compute Stick is now available for pre-order, although it's already sold out everywhere I looked at. So if you were excited about it, you may have to wait a little while for it to come back into stock. But it's showing an April 24th ship date. And if you don't remember, Intel Compute Stick was shown off at CES. It is an HDMI stick with a quad-core Bay Trail Atom processor, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, micro USB power, a full-size USB port, Windows 8.1 or Linux configurable on it. There was also talk at CES of Android, but we're only seeing Windows and Linux versions today. BGN, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4, and of course the HDMI out that you plug it into to plug it into a monitor or a television. Newegg is selling the Windows version for $149 and the Linux version for $110 with the same spec. At CES, they had said the Linux one would be $89. Now, there is an Amazon listing for a Linux version that only has 1 gig of RAM and 8 gigabytes, but that one didn't have a price on it when I looked. So maybe that's going to be the $89 one. Anyway, this is obviously very popular. People are very excited about this, and it's part of a trend. We heard about the Asus-built Google Chromebook for $100 that's coming this summer. That's got 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gig solid-state drive, and Bluetooth on it as well. And Liliputing, who were kind of first on the scene with this report about the Newegg listing, have been documenting dozens of these kinds of sticks within the past few months. Now, one issue that they point out is a lot of times they don't come with a licensed copy of Windows. So some of these sticks have been pulled from stores because of that. Others just sort of put that in the fine print, and when you get it, you realize, oh, I have to buy my own copy of Windows to put on it. For example, the MegoPad T01 is around $100, but in some places, at least the places that are closer to $100, you'll need to provide your own copy of Windows. Ubuntu works on these too. However, you need to do a little configuring. Apparently, for Ubuntu to work on the MegoPad T01, you have to have a 32-bit bootloader combined with the 64-bit version of the OS. Now, if you don't want to mess around with that, there's the hands-free micro PC. That's more expensive, though, $212 to $277, depending on where you buy it. But that's more comparable to the PC stick from Intel. It's HDMI, 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, Bay Trail processor, and Windows 8.1. So I think what's exciting about this is not that it's the first stick, Todd, but it's $149 for licensed copy of Windows and good specs, and it seems to be the leading edge of a trend. What are these good for, though? Are they just a passing fancy that's kind of fun, or do you see these actually finding some valuable uses?
What I hope to see happen is a community similar to XDA developers to grow up around this platform, where prepackaged appliance solutions get developed and released as easily installable executables. So we've seen over the years the transition from the mini ITX computers on entertainment centers to Raspberry Pi to the box design, the very, very micro PCs. This is the ultimate expression of that, a whole computer with operating system in a stick. And an operating system that people are already familiar with. So you don't have to load a weird Linux distro to make it a DVR. You turn it on and boot it up, and there's your Windows 8 interface that you're used to, and you're in familiar territory. So I think they're going to get more traction here because it's a package and a front end that people already know how to operate. So they're going to be more likely to try, oh, then I can go and turn on the DVR functionality in Windows. Hey, and look, I can actually hook an antenna to this thing through the USB port and put a tuner on it because it's a full-size USB port. For me, that was the most exciting bit, was full-size USB 2.0 port that you could put a little USB hub on and run things like extra storage, so you can put one of these absurdly large solid-state drives you can get for peanuts these days, and a little TV tuner on it, and you've got the tiniest home theater PC ever.
Although you have huge, it is interesting to think of it as all of the peripherals outweighing the actual computer by several tens of times.
The worm has turned. So, but it gives you that flexibility to either use it totally self-contained. 32 gigs of storage is a decent amount to do some lightweight entertainment application. Because I see this largely as an entertainment thing. Though I could see a company maybe putting together a training package and sending it out to remote sites. Here, just plug this into the HDMI port on your monitor, turn it on, and it auto boots and auto runs some kind of training routine. It's so inexpensive. It opens up opportunities to do this kind of thing, where you're not just sending a file to run on a computer. You're sending the entire system.
Bit more expensive than a USB stick, but
yes.
I can see people who are very much into putting movable apps onto their thumb drives, looking at this and saying, gosh, for a significant amount of money more than a USB drive costs, I don't have to make movable apps. I can just have the whole computer, unplug their computer and plug in mine. And really the only vulnerability at point is the Wi-Fi access. So as long as I'm running a good firewall on this thing, I can take it with me anywhere. And run whatever I need to run. Now, that isn't great. If you're doing maintenance on somebody else's computer, obviously this isn't going to work for that. But like you say, training, presentations, just mobile computing, I can see lots of situations where somebody with a phablet or a tablet looks at this as, hey, once I get to the office, all you need to do is give me an HDMI monitor and I'm golden.
Yep. And what I would love to see happen, this is more of a homebrew community. I'm not sure if this will become terribly mainstream, but someone could very easily build the ultimate one-stick, does-it-all home entertainment center device that is all the services with a front-row-like interface for all of your iTunes stuff that unifies your iTunes universe with your Netflix universe, your Hulu universe, your Crackle universe, brings it all together, one remote, and it just, that one-stop shop we've always wanted for our media consumption on our television. I want to get this in the hands of people who can make that happen. That's the kind of community I hope grows up. So let's check back in a year and see if people have taken this and run with it, and if the cool thing next Christmas is, oh yeah, you get one of these, and then you go download the Wonder app, and ta-da, your cord-cutting days are beautiful and wonderful, and you never miss a show ever again.
Well, and think about this versus like a Chromecast or Roku stick or even a Fire TV stick. You go to a hotel. Now, I know that Fire TV just added the Wi-Fi, the ability to authenticate on a captive Wi-Fi portal, but who cares? You got this thing. You can just look in a browser. You don't even have to pay for Hulu Plus. You can just use Hulu on this. I mean, I can't see Hulu starting to block devices based on the fact that they're an Intel PC stick. So it just gives you a whole lot more flexibility.
Yeah, no, as I was visiting in Anaheim over the weekend, I had to do my normal gyrations of extra router to get my Roku box working on the TV so I could watch Current Geek. And with something like this, it'll be much simpler. Just find an available HDMI socket, which is trivially easy at most big hotels anymore. Press play, and off you go.
Now, real quickly before we move off of this story, Burke80, who is from Turkey, in our chat room, sent a link to an Al Jazeera article that is in Turkish. I haven't seen an English version of this yet, alleging that that Istanbul's prosecutor's office has given Google a deadline to remove images, or they will block Google, not just YouTube.
So ongoing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that turns out to be true, and if so, if they actually pull the trigger on that.
And I understand their motivation to choke off publicity, rewarding the kind of horrifying activities that are being publicized this way.
Yeah.
And I credit them with the fact that they are attempting to get Google to do it through normal channels before bringing the hammer down on their firewall. Pretty
swift hammer. Also, as I have heard from many people who live in Turkey, there are plenty of ways around those blocks. So I'm not sure how effective they really are.
It's a saving face.
Let's take a look at our pick of the day. It says if you want to play computer games without having to install them, keep the game saves on their media, SD card or USB thumbstick, or maybe 3D print an NES console and put the micro SD card into the little 3D printed game cartridge and pretend like you're playing on a little retro console, try this out. VMware ThinApp. This application lets you virtualize the game and system's environment in one folder, which you can then place on a USB thumbstick or SD card with a well-placed autorun.inf file. you can make the game automatically play. Head over to newagesoldier.com/PC game carts if you want an example of how this is done. Talk about your your portable apps. I love the idea of 3D printing out an NES console and putting a micro SD card in it.
You know, like you do.
That's just I want someone to have already done that.
If only there were a tiny computer you could plug the thumb drive into that you just hook into your TV and you could play the game on your flat panel, 1080p television. If only someone would make something like that.
If only.
Convergence, my friend. It's a wonderful thing.
Thank you, Jacob, for sending along that pick. And if you want to see my picks, head over to dailytechnewsshow.com/picks and send us your picks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. I got 3 good messages I want to get to today. The first one comes from Tom, the energy/IT consultant, who was catching up on shows and realized, he says, you keep running stories where companies/CEOs are interfering with social issues. And he means Darren mentioned Bill Gates donating $500 million to fight malaria. Salesforce pulling out of Indiana was mentioned on Monday. And of course, we were talking about the Tim Cook Washington Post editorial. Tom says, as a Dutch national, I really dislike the one-sided and positive spin you give these stories because this strongly promotes the American plutocratic, corporatocratic worldview. Let us not forget that this approach of companies and CEOs dominating policy also has its downsides, and these entities their own ugly sides. I am hence not fooled by this corporate social responsibility PR fad/distraction when we Europeans get to see the true face of the American social consciousness time and again. I see those initial stories as the CEO and companies squeezing their customers out of more money than they should be possible in an effective capitalist system and then promoting their own social interest. In my common Dutch/European perspective, the overall populace should instead be earning a solid wage and contributing to their own desired causes, as well as voting in a pluriform political system for a party that strongly supports their values when investing public money. Given that you have always attempted to be politically neutral and have a solid international audience, I hope you will next time take into account this perspective, or at least the presented downsides/dangers of the plutocratic/corporatocratic approach. Best regards, Tom, the energy IT consultant. Interesting to me that he works in energy, which is one of the most suspected industries of this, and maybe that's why he has this view, because he's close to it all the time. I don't think it's a bad thing for someone like Bill Gates to give $500 million to fight malaria, but I also don't think that that would excuse anything horrible that Microsoft or Bill Gates has done. But I don't know. I think those are 2 separate things. Do we have to, I don't know, Todd, what do you think? Do we have to bring up the downside of everything every time we talk about an upside?
I mean, this is a reflexive urge on the internet, it seems. And I am highly cynical of corporate entities, so I immediately feel a kinship with Tom, the Tom from the letter.
Tom
from
the energy IT Tom.
I don't think you should automatically say, when you see something good, say, okay, but what are you hiding? That's getting a little too conspiracy crazed for me, but he is not wrong in that often these moves are made in order to improve PR when they've caused a spill or have been found doing something reprehensible over here. We should probably polish our image over here where we can. And it also happens to grease the wheels in that locality for us to do business later, because they will remember, oh, look at all that money we dumped in there. So, I mean, Bill Gates is a bad example because he's not one of the cogs in Microsoft anymore. He has cashed out, and it's the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Although he's back in the building, Satya Nadella has given him an office and brought him back in, so it's not like he doesn't have influence there. Right.
But he's I have a harder time questioning his motivations. They seem he's either doing a really good.
I know what you're saying. He's not the guy running the company the way Elon Musk is running his company, and so what Tesla/SpaceX does definitely serves Elon Musk's agenda, whatever it is.
I would say rather than when you report the good, also report the bad. It's just don't shy away from reporting the bad when it comes to light.
Yeah, and I tend to think sometimes we tend to want to report the bad more often than the good. However, if I'm overcorrecting in that direction, that's why I like folks like Tom to write in and say, hey, wait a minute, I think you're overcorrecting this. Because I hear a lot more often from people saying you're being too hard on corporations, you're anti-business, etc. I do get those from time to time. So it actually is good to hear someone say, no, wait a minute, hold on, let's not give everybody a free pass all the time either. So I thank Tom for writing in. It's a good email. Brooke sent us an email and said, I was listening to last week's show with Allison Sheridan where you talked about accessibility and have a story to share. I've been doing application and web development for a little over 15 years, and I admit accessibility has not always been a priority for my team. Not because we don't care, but because there are so many facets to development, it's easy to overlook. When dogfooding your own apps, if you don't have the disability, or if someone on the team doesn't have the disability, it can easily be forgotten, unless, as Allison pointed out, it is made a core priority in the development process from the start. At my current job, one of the managers is colorblind. We'll call him John. Having John on the team has increased accessibility for colorblind people on our site and apps. For example, we often found ourselves developing a UI we think is straightforward, nice and user-friendly. The classic example is pins on a map for store locations, each pin a different color. We would review the new map and everyone would say it looked great until we got to John. All the colored pins looked the same to him, and so the new map was useless. We had to adapt and start adding letters to our pins or icons, so color wasn't the only defining factor. After about a year going through this process, the team has become very aware of building UIs that are accessible to the colorblind. A standard part of our UI review is making sure it passes the John test. Having someone as part of the team with the disability was key to making the team aware of that particular accessibility issue. Great story, Brooke, and it really points out the fact that you have to work harder to prioritize some of these things because you're not going to be able to get every person with every single accessibility issue on your team. That's just not going to be possible.
Yeah, it seems that might be a business opportunity for someone to come in as a consultant and say, provide checklists of, if you're trying to reach the broadest audience possible, have you considered the following 27 things that the average person would have overlooked?
Or like a testing panel that that could just be available for folks to rent and say, hey, run this through and let folks, try out, you'd have to have non-disclosure agreements and all of that, but that's doable. And then be able to get a test back from, like you say, 27 different factors or whatever.
Yeah. Interesting concept. Somebody get on that right now.
Yeah, please. Well, if you do get on that too, let us know. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, that is it for this show. Ladies and gentlemen, Alpha Geek Radio, alphageekradio.com is a fantastic resource for those of us podcasting, and if you're getting started in podcasting, it can be a fantastic resource for you too. Go check it out, alphageekradio.com. They have 97 patrons, so they're only 3 people away from 100 patrons. If you listen to DTNS on AGR, or perhaps you listen to the morning stream as you transition from your home to the car to the office, or maybe you go hunting for new shows via the 24/7 server there, maybe think about throwing a buck towards AGR if you've got it to spare. Patreon.com/alphageek. Now that I've embarrassed Todd Whitehead, he can tell us anything else he wants.
Well, definitely, if you're interested in trying your hand at this podcasting and videocasting thing, because Alpha Geek Video is now a thing as well, we have the Podcast Videocaster Incubator. So if you have a show idea that you want to try on for size, send me your pitch to info@alphageekradio.com. And I will show you the ways of the live stream. We will, one of us.
Join him. alphageekradio.com, and of course twitter.com/gnomewise with a G, GNOMEWISE, if you want to follow Todd. Also, thank you to our patrons. I just updated our patron page on the blog at dailytechnewsshow.com. So thanks to all of my co-executive producers and the rest of my awesome bosses who are making the show possible. Could not do it without you. If you want to know the ways to support the show, you're interested in giving a little value back for the value you get, check out dailytechnewsshow.com/support. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Call us, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. As I said, listen to the show live. TuneIn.alphageekradio.com can tell you all the ways, and our website is dailytechnewsshow.com. Be back tomorrow with Patrick Beja because it's Tuesday. Talk to you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information, information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh my god, I have thoughts. Thoughts!
You are now in the recording.
I'm sorry.
I think I could fix it. But
I'm sorry.
you are very excited about your thoughts.
So excited about my thoughts. You want to know what my thought is? God, if there is not already a company that is facilitating an exchange, like a Craigslist, between people with disabilities who have a hard time in whatever job they're either trying to find or already have, if that job is not suited to them, what could not be a better job? Because there's no way that any one development team is going to be able to address the different needs of different populations like that. Create an exchange. That's got to exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might exist already, but I love that idea.
Have a panel. Have a bunch of people come in and at the late stage test your product, from their own perspective. That must already happen and we just don't hear about it, because otherwise, what the hey?
Well, often, you see things like with game development. It was 8-9 years into World of Warcraft before Blizzard finally addressed colorblindness. So it was not early in their process at all. And maybe it might be better if someone could come in at the early stage and plant the seeds of be thinking about these things. Put the hooks in to put these things in later, and you will save yourself a ton of work.
And I just love the idea about of an accessibility panel, in a sense, like a volunteer base, but you would get money for providing a service that literally not a lot of other people can provide. Your service is now valuable to these companies. What a great thing.
Well, and it's the kind of thing where, sure, there might be some people out there who don't want to do this, but I would imagine most developers would like their product to be accessible. They just look at it and go, it's just so hard.
Right.
And this would make it easier.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You should make it a business.
I know. It's
exactly.
a great business for somebody who understands that area to set up.
We just need seed funding and volunteers.
Yeah. But does it, let's see. All right, so BioCow says for websites there are online services that will slurp your site and tell you what you're doing wrong.
Yeah, Tinvec talks about writing a test suite. But yeah. Nothing beats actual people who use it in a certain way going, wait a minute, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah. And doing it in instead of being the person alone in their home after the thing has already been released and that group of engineers has moved on to whatever other project they're on, be in the system, through this thing, and I love it. I just love it. I hope that exists. Sorry, by the way, I didn't mean to totally screw up the recording of the show, but I was so excited.
You didn't. At the very worst, I just clip off. The Diamond Club logo will end a little earlier than it usually does. But.
I wonder why, because is it just because you didn't get a chance to record, or is it because is there a lag where it was still playing when I jumped in?
It was still playing when you jumped in, yeah.
Oh, that's weird, because I waited for it to end before I jumped in. Isn't that weird?
Welcome to Google Hangouts.
Yeah. So
I'm listening to it locally. So my only guess is that I'm hearing it louder, and so you thought it had faded out, but it hadn't faded out, because it does have a long fade out at the end there.
Should we close caption the show then?
Yeah, actually, kind of. If we're talking about it, we should talk about it. Doesn't Google have closed captioning?
Oh, if we did, when we get to the video level of the show, absolutely.
Yeah, there are services, and you can crowdsource that.
Yeah. And you can call me a hypocrite, and that's fine. But I'm not concerned with that yet, because we're not doing anything to make the video better in any way.
It's unofficial, unsupported.
Yeah.
Unexplained mass sponge migration.
If we do get to the video level, that should just
definitely
be the thing that happens.
100% agree.
I'm writing it down in our things that should happen when we get to the video level file.
You clutch cargo it, and then
you don't need to.
Oh no, I went to I used to have class with a woman who was hearing impaired, and she actually had what do you call him, the stenographer, come in and actually type out notes. So she could read lips really well. All you
Jenny,
had to
just
do
so
is-
you know,
Yeah.
there was one last he from Brian that you stepped on. The very most inaudible he of all of the he's. So you didn't do any damage whatsoever.
Okay,
it's perfectly
good.
fine.
My enthusiasm. Oh gosh.
Violent Club
I'll
is
try to
glad you
stick
didn't
it-
interfere.
I'll try to stick it away back in the place where it hides.
No, don't do that. That's the wrong. That's definitely not what I want to happen.
Don't hide your it under a bushel. Come on.
Don't. No, definitely not. I hear every he.
Yeah, you're probably right. I didn't hear
It was the
that
last one.
he
No, I could
because-
see the waveform, and I'm like, yep, that's the last. Like
Yeah.
you heard probably the third to last one, and we're like, okay, that's it.
I'm gonna make a built-in enthusiasm 3 count. I'm so excited about something. 1, 2, 3.
But
okay.
it was a cool thing to be excited about. I'm glad you're excited.
Yeah.
That's Thomas Palantir Merritt. He sees all.
He sees all, but you never know what's on the other end of the Palantir. Oh.
I see.
That's awesome.
Oh, what are we calling this show?
I hear every he.
That's what we're calling the post show.
Yeah. Leave no
I
he
hear
behind.
you.
No, I'm sorry. Those were all really good suggestions for the chat room. The show titles are More PC Than You Can Shake a Stick At.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one that's basically a mashup of PC and pickup sticks, but it says PC K up sticks.
I almost want to just dial that one back one step and make it PC pickup sticks.
Yeah,
Does that still work?
it works for me.
All right. What else we got?
Choosy moms don't say GIF.
That's what you say.
Turkey plays chicken with Google,
Hmm.
which is just I always love.
Turkey playing chicken. Yeah.
PC is getting sticky.
Code softly and carry a PC stick.
What's
Yeah.
PC and sticky?
Oh, PC is getting stick -y. 3:01 a.m. minus $10,000 equals headache.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
Hey.
Yeah. I am not buying the edition, by the way. I'm going to buy the cheapest one I can
No.
get.
I'm kind of on the fence about buying one. Because they're going to be expensive, right?
$350 is your cheapest one.
$349?
Yeah.
$350, yeah. Oh. I had to buy a new iPhone that was like pretty almost full price.
Yeah.
What happened to?
Unlimited AT&T contract, woo!
I thought you had an Android, or did you give that up?
Well, that's what's on on its way to you.
Ah.
I had an Android tablet, and now Peter Rells really wants me to get the what does he want? The Moto E so that like basically there were 3 tenets of my Android experiment, and one of them was a failure, which was the tablet part. Samsung had low grades, but because of all their bloatware. But the part I didn't really get to explore because of all those other issues was the Android part of it, the pure Android experience. So at some point in the future, we might think about that. Or I might.
Hey, Tom, how about a riff on Dark Redeemers? You can do pick up and then parenthetical PC and then sticks. So pick up PC sticks.
For some reason, I like PC pickup sticks.
Okay? It's also a
I
riff.
think that's what I want to go with.
Yeah.
Unless there are any objections.
Dark Redeemer, we're editing you.
It's a collab.
But you inspired
collab.
us.
It's a collab.
He
It's
brings
Dark Redeemer Ace
inspiration.
Detect joint.
A dark detect.
All right. Okay. I've made an MP3. Ooh, exciting.
I got excited and made something.
We have 2 voicemails at the end of today's show. So if you're watching the video and you also already subscribe to the audio, you can go fast forward to the end to hear them. A couple of good ones.
Treasure
Why hear me talk
chest.
again?
The treasure.
Can I help? Can I help with that in some way?
Yes, you can. Once we actually open it up, you can help
Yeah.
put things in it.
Put things in it. Yeah, go back and find stuff.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I love, you know what I love? I deeply love organizing things. Like, that's one of my favorite things about computers is putting things in folders. It's really weird.
Our Jenny, really?
Yeah.
Well, we have got the dream job for you then.
I know. I'm so excited.
Here's a folder. You can make as many subfolders as you want. Joy.
That's the whole point of the thing.
Right?
Is you never know
we-
what
we-
you're gonna find.
We trust Jenny to find a logical upper limit to the folder length.
Oh, I'm gonna have fun with this. Todd, I noticed that you're almost to a new round number on your Alpha Geek people, your Alpha Geek
Yes.
patrons. How exciting is that?
Where are we right now?
97 patrons. You need 3 more to get to 100.
Right. That's what. Yeah. That's what I was trying to get people to do.
How exciting is that?
Well, they haven't downloaded the episode yet.
But there's people in the live audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're the
They
cool
might
kids
even be
that are
listening on Alpha Geek Radio.
These are the cool ones who are already my patrons.
Yeah, they're all like, yeah, dude, donated a long
Dude, in
time
there.
ago.
Yeah.
Was there before you, Merit.
Yeah.
I'm now a top contributor. I'm pretty excited about that.
Tom, when you logged in to go on air, you may have noticed the small edit that went in the top of the control panel page that Jenny and I talked about.
Oh, wait, what? What did we talk about? I've already forgotten.
the
How I do.
the Be My Patron link for the hosts.
Oh,
I don't see that.
Really, it's just the initial entry so far. It's not on the actual.
Oh,
stuff.
I go right into the talk channel page. I never look at home.
Bypass. But that tells me the story
Well,
that I need to put at the top
Yep.
of each page.
Yeah.
User input.
Why would I go click twice?
You're not a normal human, Tom.
Not even
awesome.
human.
Stronger, faster.
Someday I hope to become human. I want to be a real boy.
So I had a new goal level on the Patreon specifically for the hosts for the next big thing.
Cool.
Got a couple other features I can roll into that. So all are welcome.
All right.
Well, I gotta go back to work.
Thanks,
I've been
man.
Squatting
Good
on this
show.
client's Wi-Fi long enough that they generously offered.
Bye, Todd. Thanks.
Thank
See
them
you
for the
guys.
Wi-Fi.
Actually, I think he's watching. Hi, John, if you're watching.
Bye, John. Thanks for the Wi-Fi.
See you guys later.
Bye. And we are going to go too because as of now, I am what you call
Out of the post.
out of the post.
Oh.